Footy Round-Up, second half action. Matt, let's lead off with the Bundesliga. Last week we had a bit of a chat about Bas Dost's situation. For the listeners who aren't as aware of this player, absolutely on fire right now.
Get aware of him.
Yeah, seriously.
He's the best player in Europe right now. I mean, Ronaldo, Messi continue to do their things, of course, but Bas Dost is the hottest player in Europe.
For sure, the
now.
best known, maybe less known player, without
Absolutely.
question. Yeah.
But I mean, I'd go as far as to say he's the best player in Europe right now. Has been for the last month. But anyway, what the point we're trying to make here is obviously A, how good he is, but B, we said last week we found out what his contract status was for you guys. He is signed until June of 2017, so he has another 2.5 years or so left on his deal with Wolfsburg. I know we were talking about this before we went on the air, Rob. You think he's going to leave, or...
I think at least, a bigger name, higher status club is going to aggressively pursue him. With the one asterisk on it, Matt, that I think he needs to continue producing at an absolutely ridiculous rate. Because he's not old, but he's not he's not like a 20, 21-year-old prospect either. So I think if he keeps up, this absolutely ridiculous form, I can't see a Chelsea or a Man City or someone of that caliber not knocking at the door to try to pry him away.
I think on the other hand as well, though, you say like he's 25, is that teams might be more attracted to that because he's proven. Like he's not there. He doesn't have to prove himself.
He's not really a young goof anymore either.
He's shown what he can do, right, for a club
yeah.
that's second in the table and is just on a. I mean, they're on fire, Wolfsburg.
I'm a big fan of the Wolfsburg side. I just think, eventually if he keeps up, like his rate's ridiculous. He scores basically every other game for Wolfsburg.
On average now, that's what the average is now. But like the last month or so, I think he scored like
2 goals a game,
15 in like 7 or 8 games.
Yeah.
He's been on absolute fire.
I just can't see, if he's
weekend.
producing at this rate, a high status club not coming with an attractive offer that even though Wolfsburg will want to keep him, like kind of similar to the Marco Reus situation. You also got to think maybe sell while the value's high too. It's still not a super wealthy club.
I know we were talking about this before off the air. I think you and I differ a little on this. I think a team will come in. The Real Madrid probably will always make a bid, but a Chelsea or Man U or Man City, or someone will come in. Bayern Munich, maybe.
Sleeper maybe Man United actually
could be
with Louis van Gaal there too.
To me, I don't think it matters. I don't see him leaving.
You think he'll stay?
I think so, because Wolfsburg are like that big up-and-coming team. Kind of how we saw Borussia Dortmund a few years ago when they kind of started winning the Bundesliga and then into the Champions League final. And I mean, we know they've struggled a little this year, but they kind of came somewhat out of nowhere. And I think Wolfsburg are back on that track now. I think the fact they signed Kevin De Bruyne is a big sign, but then getting Andre Schürrle in the January transfer window was huge. I mean, that, and for a hefty price as well. I mean, I think it proves that they're truly committed to winning this. And getting rid of Bas Dost, you don't sell your best player, period.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't happen. Like, they have some really other good players. I mean, I don't know if Nicholas Bentner is classified as a really good player, but he's obviously a piece there. Tim Klose, Viriana, Perisic is there too. Aaron Hunt is a really good player. So, and he's a young guy too. I mean, there's
They're
a
all
lot
fairly
of
young. They're in that early to mid 20s range.
Exactly,
too,
and I think you'll
build.
see come the summer transfer window, Wolfsburg picking up some other really good players who have proven themselves, who they can add like a really good secondary scorer.
They added Schürrle on too, right?
Yeah, exactly, in January, right? Which is, I mean, they also in De Bruyne before that last year. I mean, I think they're going to add to this. I think he's going to be kind of like Marco Reus. I think he's going to stick with what he has here. The only question now for Bas Dost is when he gets capped nationally, because he still hasn't played for Holland yet. But
he's been called up, I think, on the bench.
I don't know when their next game is, but could pretty guarantee almost everything that he would be part of that team.
It's like Harry Kane's situation with England.
Yeah, exactly.
I like the guy's scoring at such a ridiculous rate. I don't see how you feature him. The last point I'll make on the Bas Dost situation, Matty, is sometimes when you see these bigger clubs come calling and a player kind of catches wind of it, he'll kind of almost, I don't want to say motivate the deal, but kind of shove it along, like I know Modric did with Tottenham when they were trying mightily to keep him, because the guys, they hear these teams, it's a once in a lifetime cliche thing to say, but to cash in and really be at the top of your craft, it's hard to say no when a United, a Chelsea, or Real Madrid come calling. So
but the other thing with Wolfsburg here, obviously they're basically a lock for the Champions League next year now, second in the table, 10 points clear of third, so that's a lock. And next year they're going to be challenging with Bayern Munich and probably Dortmund, and I think Bayer Leverkusen would back up there. Schalke will still be there. Mönchengladbach, I think, are going to be kind of like Wolfsburg, not to the same extent, but add a few players. We've mentioned Hazard in the first half. They've signed him permanently, continue to build on what they have. I mean, Hamburg, I'm sure, might hopefully turn things around Werder Bremen would be better. So I think Bundesliga next year is setting up to be fantastic. So,
Matty, give me a percentage a year or two from now. Let's assume, I mean, it's a ridiculous rate he's scoring at, so it's not going to continue at this rate. But let's assume it's maybe 75 or 80% of the rate he's doing now. What percentage chance do you say he will leave versus stay within the next 1 to 2 years?
Stay 80%.
80%?
I something tells me this guy wants to stick around.
I don't know enough about Bas Dost personally to say, like, it's hard to know, like, in his psyche what he's thinking. I think it's 50-50. I think it's a flip of a coin here. I think it would depend which team comes at which cost, and if Wolfsburg sees enough value, because like you said, he's one of, if not their top guy right now.
Having said that, Wolfsburg aren't a team who's in need of money. With the money they splashed out on Schürrle, they're not a team. They're not some of these other teams who need to sell their best players to keep funding. So
no, they don't need to, but sometimes it still is a business and it's a sell-high situation. I wouldn't rule out, as good as Mandzukic has played for Atletico and as much as Simeone likes him, I think if the right deal came along for them where they think it's enough money, Atletico would sell him. And they have Torres there now and Griezmann kicking. Like, there's always a price, Matt, where unless you are a Real or a Barca or a City, maybe the only 3 exceptions, any other club can sell a player if the price is what it needs to be.
The only thing, final point on this, is that I don't think he's the kind of guy they'd sell for 20 million. They'd have to pay...
You're right, I would agree.
They'd have to pay 50, 60. They're going to have to... Some teams are going to have to break their bank in half to get this
I would
guy.
say 40 plus to get in the conversation.
It's not going to be one of these, like, oh, we're nabbing for 15, 20. It's... The guy's the most valuable player right now in Europe, like in terms of like current form anyway.
Matty, moving on to the Bundesliga results.
Yeah, so Wolfsburg, we mentioned Bas Dost, obviously. He scored twice in a 5-3 away win at Werder Bremen. Heck of a game. I mean, anytime
he would have only lost the game 3-2 if he played himself.
Exactly, right? So, not bad. They would have drawn 3-3.
Oh, 3, yeah.
Yeah, Cagliari and Arnold. Cagliari scored twice and Arnold had the other goals for Wolfsburg. But yeah, Bas Dost keeps scoring. Bayern Munich won 4-1 against Köln on Friday night. Schweinsteiger, Ribery, Robin, Lewandowski. It's funny, every time we talk about Bayern Munich, the guys who score, every time I look at the sheet, I'm like, name me 4 better players on one team. It's so hard. I mean, those are 4 world-class players. Bayer Leverkusen picked up a 1-0 home win against Freiburg, goal courtesy of Rolfs. And Borussia Dortmund were up there. They're 10th in the league now. On a roll. They've won 4 straight. They beat Schalke 3-0. Aubameyang, Matakerin, and Marco Reus had the goals there. All those goals coming after the 77th minute, so left
quite
a little
the
late.
Turnaround. They've been up and down like a yo-yo a little bit.
Insane. A couple of other results. Mönchengladbach beat our favourites Paderborn 2-0.
You can't say that name without laughing for some reason. Because you saw them at the top of the table for the first 2 games, and now
I don't know. It seems like we were laughing about it when it happened, and it's like, no, they are just truly awful now.
Oh, it makes
they're in
sense.
They're in the relegation zone, so they're struggling. But Mönchengladbach remain 3rd in the table. And the other result of note here is Hertha Berlin beat Augsburg 1-0. Kalou scored in the 88th minute. Augsburg now have dropped to 6th. So, Bundesliga, I mean, Bayern Munich, I think we say kind of most weeks have pretty much comfortably got this wrapped up.
It's almost not worth talking about the top of the Bundesliga table.
Not really anymore. I think just from 3rd downwards, you got Mönchengladbach on 40, Bayer Leverkusen 36, Augsburg and Schalke on 35, and Hoffenheim, Eintracht, Werder Bremen, Dortmund 28 in 10th place. Hamburg, I think, is the other team we've got to look out for here because they're down there on 24 points. They lost 2-1 at Eintracht at the weekend.
It's sad to see how far they've fallen. They were quite a good side not too long ago, a couple of years ago. I mean, they're not a side, like AC and Inter used to be by any stretch, but
no, they're kind of
they were
like
a top mid-level side, like a Liverpool-y Tottenham type.
Lazio,
Tottenham-y. We haven't said that in a while,
actually.
That in a while. A strong, solid like B+ contender, but they've fallen on hard times.
And Hamburg have a tough game this weekend. They host Borussia Dortmund.
Doesn't get easier, eh?
Bayern travel away to Hanover. Leverkusen away at Paderborn. Freiburg host Werder Bremen. And Augsburg hosts Wolfsburg. So some really good fixtures in the Bundesliga this year. This week, sorry.
Matty, moving on to the Premiership.
Yeah, Man United picked up a 2-0 home win against Sunderland on Saturday. Rooney scoring twice. Trying to see what else. Well, let's also address the Carling Cup since Chelsea's game was postponed. They beat Spurs 2-0 in the Carling Cup final. I didn't watch the game.
No, me neither.
Not sure. It wasn't really televised out here. It's not something that's that big. But anyway, it's a trophy for Mourinho. His first trophy back as Chelsea manager. And
he'll never complain about that.
At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what it is. You're never going to complain about winning a trophy.
No.
2-0 win at Wembley for Chelsea there. The other big result, 2 big results in the Premier League this weekend was Liverpool 2, Man City 1. Man City failing to gain on Chelsea when Chelsea had the weekend off. And Everton lost 2-0 away at Arsenal.
Interesting week in the Premiership. What about the Premier table now? What are we looking at?
Well, Chelsea, like I said, they had obviously in the they are obviously off in the Premier League, but now Man City, with them losing at Liverpool, they're 5 points behind with a game in hand. Henderson and Coutinho scored the 2 goals for Liverpool. Dzeko got the Man City goal. I mean, with Chelsea now have a game in hand, I mean, this is, and especially with that game in hand away at Leicester, you got to think that gap's going to be back up to 8 points with, what's that, 11 games to play when it's all said and done. So, Chelsea well in the driver's seat here with a trophy in their back pocket now moving forward. Arsenal is moving to stay in third with their win. Giroud and Rosicky had the goals there. Man United stay fourth, 1 point behind. So the big four are in the Champions League spots. But Liverpool, man, they just keep, I don't know what it is. When the Christmas break comes around, they haven't lost since Christmas again.
Yeah, they get
It's like last
streaky.
year. They're only, they are behind, but they're 12 points off the Premier League title now.
Which I mean, considering where they were.
It's not going to happen because there's not enough games left. But they are going. I would not be surprised if they pick Arsenal or Man United for the for one of these Champions League spots.
I wouldn't be either. I mean, it's been a Chelsea, City 1-2, and everyone else fighting for 3 pretty much since the beginning. City losing 2-1 at Liverpool, you got to think that pretty much kills their hopes. Even a draw there, you're still kind of alive.
I mean, it's 5 with going on 8 points because Chelsea's away game in hand is at Leicester. Southampton lost again. They lost 1-0 away at West Brom. Berabinho had the goal there in the second minute. Another guy, I know we speak about Harry Kane a lot, but an English guy who's scoring a lot in the Premier League. Obviously hasn't got quite the reputation Harry Kane has, but I'm sure an England call is coming his way at some point soon. A couple of other results. Burnley lost home to Swansea. Newcastle beat Villa 1-0. And Stoke beat Hull City 1-0 thanks to a Peter Crouch goal. And West Ham lost home to Palace 3-1. So Leicester stay bottom of the league. Obviously they didn't play this weekend. Villa also stay 19th, Burnley stay 18th, and QPR on 17th. All those 3 teams are all on 22 points, and then Sunderland and Hull City. Also, quick note on Sunderland, Adam Johnson, England international, former Man City player, was arrested for underage sex, so he's suspended from the team for now pending a police investigation. So
yeah, I mean, you don't like to say too much about. It's not nice to hear, but you don't like to say too much about it until some of the facts.
No,
come
of course
out, because
not.
a lot of the times,
just passing the news along. Obviously, that's happened. So he's
Matt, just another
now.
quick aside too. The Leicester Chelsea game was actually postponed because Chelsea was competing in the Capital One.
Yeah,
Cup.
exactly. Yeah. Premier League this week is playing midweek again because FA Cup is back at the weekend. So some Premier League games this week. Man City play Leicester, Port Leicester. Villa play West Brom. Southampton play
I just
Palace.
want to see another Kremerich goal. That's
what you care about, right? Stoke, Everton, QPR, Arsenal, West Ham, Chelsea, Newcastle United, Liverpool, Burnley. Newcastle, Man United is probably the biggest game.
Yeah, none of these are really jumping off the page.
Not really, no. Results kind of going as you probably expect. Southampton need a win against Palace. Palace have been playing well recently. So Southampton could really do with getting a result there. Liverpool, obviously, I mean, against home to Burnley should be comfortable. Liverpool have this reputation of always dropping home points against lesser sides. It's an odd thing of theirs. As for the FA Cup, the quarterfinals are Saturday. We got this weekend because you know how television is. There are 4 games spread over 3 days. But Bradford versus Reading, Villa play West Brom again. So 2 Midland derbies in the space of like 4 or 5 days. Liverpool play Blackburn and Man United play Arsenal on Monday. So that's the FA Cup.
Matty, quick shout out to you for the Liverpool City game. I expected a draw. We both expected a close game. You said you wouldn't be surprised if Liverpool wins this kind of game at home against a good team, and they won it.
Yeah, well, Liverpool been on such good form recently as well, right? And Liverpool have this I don't know. It's weird. They beat the big teams at home, but then they're draw with Burnley or something. It's kind of what demised them last year.
They're up and down to their competition. Yeah.
Exactly, right? So, I mean, also on this game, Coutinho's goal for Liverpool was an absolute stunner. So
fantastic.
Check that one out.
Matty, Serie A.
The big game this weekend was Roma Juve, and as per usual,
looks like a shout out for me on this one.
Yeah, Roma, they drew 1-1.
It looked like a 1-1 from the start to me. 1-1, Juve's got it, and 1-1, I guess Juve's got it.
Yeah, I mean this being a draw pretty much wraps up the Serie A, in my opinion. 9 points back now. Roma took 1 point off Juve out of a possible 6 this season.
You can't see Juve dropping enough other games, even if Roma picked up the points.
I mean, Roma have got to win 3 and Juve lose 3 now. I mean, in their last 13 games, which is possible, don't get me wrong, but Juve just don't seem to drop points these days. They've only lost 1 game all year. But I mean, looking at the table, we said this last week.
They're kind of Chelsea-like, the way they've just kind of consistently nicked the results they need to do. Yeah.
But we said last week, Roma have drawn. They've won 13 games but drawn 10. I mean, that's their demise right there and there. Chiesa scored the equaliser after Tevez scored for Juve. Torres was sent off for Roma. So in a way, good point. You got to take it as a good point in the end for Roma. A couple of other results. Lazio,
Yeah, ironically enough, I guess. Right?
Lazio won away at Sassuolo. Felipe Anderson, Klose, and Pirolo scored the goals there. Inter Milan's poor Serie A run continues.
Fiorentina's good.
But Fiorentina keep going. Salah again scored in a 1-0 way.
Is it premature to say your boy Salah? Not quite yet.
Not quite. No, I do like Salah, but he's played really.
He's a one-guy guy. It's all Bas Dost at this point for Matty.
Right now, for sure. But Salah has been great for Fiorentina. Like he's been out of Quadraro going to Chelsea and Salah going to Fiorentina. Fiorentina have won. I wouldn't call it. It's not a trade, obviously, but they've won it so far.
The exchange,
whatever you want to call it. Yeah, Torino beat Napoli 1-0. Gilk scored the goal there. Everything else was pretty blah. Atalanta lost home to Sampdoria. Muriel, who came from Udinese during the transfer window, and Okaka had the goals for Sampdoria. So no real changes here. Obviously, Napoli losing at Torino is probably the only big result in terms of the shake-up in the standings. Milan drew 0-0 away at Chievo. So,
and Napoli's been in pretty solid form too.
They have been, yeah. So, but Torino's that Europa League, they're doing well. They're kind of always sitting around that 4th to 6th, 7th, 8th spot. They're 8th right now, so they're kicking around. Sampdoria, a good away win for them. They've drawn 12 games this year though. That league's Empoli have drawn 13, so 12 games is second highest drawn, and I mean that's a lot of points you're leaving on the table. You turn half of those into wins, and you're probably second in the table. So
you turn half those into wins, you're probably a different club at that point.
Also true, but So Serie A is just continuing on. It's basically playing for second now, and back down to Champions League and Europa spots because Juve pretty much got this sealed up. Other couple of notes: Coppa Italia semi-finals. Juve play Fiorentina and Lazio play Napoli. So 4 really good teams left in that tournament. Curious to see if Juve Fiorentina is intriguing. It's both games played over 2 legs as well. So yeah, that's the Coppa Italia, and then on to La Liga. I guess you're up.
Yep, La Liga, Matt. What's the situation currently there?
Barcelona won and Real Madrid drew is basically the situation.
That's big for Barca.
Huge.
Yeah.
We spoke last week. Obviously, Barcelona lost at home, and Real Madrid won. The gap was back up to 4 or 5 points, and now.
I mean, Villarreal's a good side, but Madrid would have liked to collect full points at home. You're in a tight race right now.
Exactly right. So the title is back down to 2 points. 61 points for Madrid, 59 for Barcelona.
Matty, this is really the only, I guess, title that's still, for all intents and purposes, in doubt out of the big 4 leagues.
It is. Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's the one that's most wide open. Even Atletico.
They're still hovering. Valencia's right behind them, too.
So, yeah, exactly right. Yeah, you can't. Yeah, good point. You can't really kick out Valencia. 53 points. They're 8 points back. If they keep winning as they did at the weekend.
And who does Atletico play this week? Valencia.
Yeah, of course, right? So that's a huge
schedule
game,
makers get 2 thumbs up from me on that
Absolutely. Sevilla drew 0-0 of Atletico at the weekend, and Valencia beat Real Sociedad 2-0. Piatti scoring both goals there. Ronaldo had a penalty for Madrid, but then Gerrard scored for Villarreal to tie that one up. As for Barcelona, Rakitic, Suarez, and Messi had the goals in a 3-1 away win at Granada.
Barca seems to be turning it on again.
Really
good form.
They've been.
Yeah.
I mean,
we're a little concerned about
every
that
team
one,
has a hiccup, right? And that like loss at home is it's a hiccup, but you go to Man City and pick up a great win there, and then
it's a blip on the radar at this point.
Exactly, it's just one of those things, right? So I mean, especially with Madrid not winning this weekend and the table being back down to 2 points.
Yeah, they nick a couple of points right back.
Someone draws Madrid draw and Barca win. Barca are top of the table because of goal difference again, right? So it's wide open. And also, as Coppa Italia, there's the Copa del Rey in Spain this week, semi-finals, second legs. Villarreal play Barcelona. Barca won the first leg 3-1. Espanyol play Athletic Bilbao, and the first leg was 1-1 there. So
Matt, probably fitting at the end of the day that arguably, and in my personal opinion, the 2 best club teams in the world right now are going to battle to the death for the title.
I mean, but La Liga has always been this way, right? It's usually always the
top dogs,
the league that is decided last because these 2 teams are just so neck and neck in every regard. A couple of fixtures as well. We also mentioned Atletico Valencia. Deportivo plays Sevilla. Bilbao hosts Real Madrid. Tough game there. And Barca host Rayo Vallecano. I think it's how you... Vallecano is the game there. And also we missed our Italian matchups, but Milan-Verona, Chievo-Roma, Napoli-Inter is a big game. Juve-Sassuolo and Lazio play Fiorentina in what is also going to be a good game.
Should be a good one, yep. Matty, the last few moments of the show are Studs and Duds segment, which I've had a lot of fun with this. I've enjoyed doing this. For me, it's tough to kind of narrow it down to just one for each week.
Yeah, there's always usually 3 or 4 people you can pick from.
So who did you go for with your stud this week?
My stud this week is Fiorentina. 2-0 win against Spurs in the second leg of Europa League to get into the next round of that. And then you follow that up with a 1-0 away win at Inter Milan. It's impressive. And then obviously they hope to keep that going against Juve in the Coppa Italia semi-finals this week. So, I mean, Fiorentina are on a roll right now. They're playing really, really good football.
Matty, my stud is Slaven Bilic's Besiktas, the Turkish side that went into Liverpool, and they came away with a 5-4 win in penalties. They scored a late goal to pull that one back before, playing through extra time. And you know what? They almost won it late in both regulation and extra time. They had some good chances denied.
Demba Ba was one who
off the bar.
Smashed the crossbar.
So they could have won that even sooner, and all 5 of their penalties that they took were just
phenomenal.
Fantastic. I mean, not to oversell, but it's a fantastic result for Besiktas, and now they progress in Europa League. They're on to face a Club Brugge side, and I just fancy their chances against Club Brugge for sure.
And how about your dud for the week, Rob?
My dud, Arsenal, Matt. Probably no surprise to you, losing 3-1 at home to Monaco, and now they have to go away to Monaco in the Champions League. Yeah. They're just, they barely have a finger to the pulse right now. They're hanging by a thread. As you said, they're going to have to go in there and, in all likelihood, win a 3-0 to win this tie. And personally, I don't see that happening. And another likely disappointing exit for Arsenal from Champions League.
Good bounce back, though, against Everton, it must be noted. Also, quickly, Champions League second legs are scheduled, because of television, March 10th, 11th, 17th, and 18th. Same as last time. All the games split over 2 weeks. My dud this week, Rob, is Man City. 2 defeats in 2 massive games. Losing at home to Barcelona. Obviously, they got a bit of a reprieve at the end with the Joe Hart penalty save and subsequent Messi header to give him a chance, keep him alive. But, I mean, it's hard to be a dud when you lose to Barcelona, but then you follow that up with a massive loss at Liverpool in a game you had to at least take something out of, especially with Chelsea off, put pressure on Chelsea. They might be playing Leicester, so what? You need to put pressure on Chelsea to know that you're right on their heels, right? So
I think a draw at Liverpool is not a bad result.
It's not,
if they have that,
but to lose back-to-back games, 2 huge games, don't get me wrong, Liverpool, Barcelona are 2 of the biggest clubs in the world, but at the end of the day, they're a dud because they failed to pick up a result in either game, and it's costing them in the Champions League potentially, and likely in the league as well now.
Matty, is that result at Liverpool enough for you to count out City, or what are your thoughts on the title race?
Yeah, I think it's pretty much, especially with the game in hand. Obviously, like I said, it's way at Leicester. Should be an automatic 3 points for Chelsea. Puts them 8 points clear. Should be done and dusted.
Yeah, it feels like maybe City will get close, but they won't get close enough.
I don't think, not 8 points. Not anymore.
That's it for Footy Roundup this week. Thanks for listening.